Hey listeners, welcome to this bonus episode of Extraordinary League. Episode 15 of League will be coming out at its regularly scheduled time on Sunday, March 5th, but this is a little something extra. As you know if you listen to Smash Fiction, we recently added in a new regular host, Meganbob, and we wanted to add her in as a regular in League as well. However, Meganbob is very new to role-playing games. In fact, League will be her first ever campaign. In order for her to learn not just the heavily altered Marvel system that we use for the game, but also the back-and-forth collaborative storytelling of RPGs in general, I decided to run her through a brief introductory session which would help establish how her character ended up falling in with the Extraordinary League and joining in their fight against Phyrexia. Kit offered to participate so that Meganbob would have another character to play off of, and the result is, well, this episode. Now, during a normal Extraordinary League episode, we edit out the majority of the mechanical rules discussion, but because this was a game strictly intended to introduce Bob to the system, I've left in some of the rules talk. Hopefully, if you've been interested in some of the game mechanics of the system, you'll find some value in this talk. If you find that kind of discussion boring, don't worry, it doesn't take up more than a couple of minutes total throughout the entire episode. That being said, if you want to skip this episode, you can feel free to do so. While it is canon, the specific events that happen here won't necessarily lead directly into future events in the League storyline. The other thing I wanted to mention before we get started is that we're trying something different with our League episodes. Starting with this bonus episode and moving forward, I'm going to be putting in some background music and ambient sounds. My hope is that this will make the listening experience a bit more immersive and interesting without being overly intrusive. As always, I gladly welcome your comments and feedback on this, so whether you like it or not, please let us know. Alright, enough of that. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Extraordinary League, an actual play RPG podcast brought to you by Smash Fiction. I'm Dan Mulkerin, your game master. Playing Toothless is Kit Mulkerin.
Hey listeners, I'm about to make a lot of dragon noises.
And playing Luna Lovegood is Meganbob.
Hi listeners, I have no idea what's going to happen or where I am or what I'm doing or what words are.
And you know what? That's entirely fine.
We might have kidnapped Bob.
We might have kidnapped Bob.
We're in a safe place. That's what Dan and Kit keep telling me, but it doesn't feel very safe.
Super
It's
extra
been a lot of
safe.
highway noises.
Just don't touch the pointy, bloody stuff and you'll be
Yep,
fine.
just don't try to take the black bag off your head and things will be good. So, Meganbob, you have chosen to play Luna Lovegood from the Harry Potter series. Now, in the 0 episode of Extraordinary League, I went through each of the players, and we talked about a bunch of characters that they were interested in playing and why they were interested in it, and we sort of narrowed it down. So, real quick, what is it that appeals to you about Luna Lovegood, and why is it that you decided you wanted to play her above all the other characters that you could have chosen?
Whenever I initially started to think about character choice, all of my first reactions were male characters, and then I went, nope, we need some females.
Sure.
Then I got so frustrated because all the things I thought about were like Xena, Warrior Princess, and I thought, what is she going to add to the proceedings? And also, I have nothing of Xena in me.
Yeah, that's true. That would be a little square peg round hole with your personality.
I mean, if I had to, I could, but I would rather not. And I kept thinking and thinking and thinking for somebody who approaches the world not even just sideways, but also sometimes upside down. And then I remembered that Luna Lovegood existed, and then I felt silly because I had forgotten she existed. And then I was so delighted that I remembered.
And also is from a fictional property that I know you take particular delight and enthusiasm in.
I do. It is one that I feel pretty comfortable with.
Now, tell me about when you're playing Luna in the storyline. How old is she?
Okay, so whenever they leave Hogwarts, they're about 17. And there is no mention of, wizarding post-secondary school. At least not that I recall. I'm sure somebody out there has done deep research. But I see her as very much deciding to just go and do her own post-secondary research. She's big into animals and sort of weird things because her dad runs the Quibbler and she's always looking for crumplehorn snorkax. And anything else, nargles, whatever she could find. And so I see her as just going well, I'm going to take some of my resources and go do that. So I see her about 5 years after this. So probably 23 years old.
Okay.
And just having spent most of it kind of traveling around, not with anybody, but just kind of mostly on her own and just sort of falling in with whoever she needs to.
Oh my god, Bob. Bob, you are so in tuned with Luna. I just looked up her post-Hogwarts life, and J.K. Rowling herself said, I think that Luna is now traveling the world looking for various mad creatures.
Wow.
You
well,
nailed
it!
I don't know that I see it. This also gets into the world then, is that there doesn't seem to be a kind of governing body for this stuff. It's like you just go out in the world, you do the research, and then you publish it. And there seems to be very little peer review in the wizarding world.
Yeah.
So I do not know that she is doing this with any intention other than to just say, look what I found, and now you know it's real.
I feel like that gives us a pretty good mental image as to what Luna's been up to. You know, traveling around the world now that this whole dark wizard nonsense has been dealt with, and seeing what new and unusual creatures she can catch or befriend or catalog or occasionally have to run away from, I assume. So where in the world do you think she is at this point, around the age of 22, 23?
I imagine her somewhere in South America, in the rainforest, but not full-on rainforest, somewhere probably not quite dense jungle.
I gotcha. How profitable your journeys have been is largely a matter of perspective. There are some people that don't feel as though the journey would have been profitable unless you came home balanced atop a precarious stack of cages, each with a different magical creature in it. But you feel as though you've encountered a great number of unusual creatures in your journeys. There's crazy bird-type creatures. There's, like, feathered serpents. There's these strange shadow creatures that only live in the deepest, darkest part of the rainforests. But you've seen many more than you ever learned about, even in your days at Hogwarts under Hagrid, and you're eager to begin the next leg of your journey. The last couple of days, though, as you've been leaving the rainforest, you've been hearing distant echoes of what sounds like machinery, which is strange because you know that some of the Muggles tend to do logging in some areas of the rainforest, but you were specifically trying to avoid that. And when you look around, you can't see any sign of the source of the noise. And it's only at one point later, a couple of days after you've been hearing this noise, that this greasy, dark spot seems to appear in the air a short distance away. Strange creatures seem to pull themselves out and immediately descend upon you. The next thing that you become aware of is a deep feeling of unpleasantness. You simultaneously feel greasy, sweaty, and sick to your stomach, and you're very aware of a smell which is both overly antiseptic and industrial. You're also aware of a hard, flat surface against your back, like a table, and of straps holding down your arms and legs. It takes some effort for you to force your eyes open. When you do so, you are somewhat surprised to find that you are vertical. Looking down, you see that you are strapped to some sort of upright operating table, with your arms flat up against your sides and secured by leather straps. You are in a medium-sized metal room lit intermittently by pools of blue light. You can see similar operating tables, as well as tables covered in disturbing surgical tools scattered throughout these pools of light, and you can see even more disturbing shapes in the darker areas of the room. There appears to be only one creature in the room with you. It's humanoid, although it sports an extra pair of long, spindly arms, growing a foot or so beneath the normal, expected pair of arms. The creature is almost entirely cased in metal, with a spiny, slightly bony look to the metal, and the few bits of exposed flesh you can see looks grayish and rubbery. The top of its head is covered by a tall, pointed, slightly sloped metal helmet. This, combined with the exposed facial tentacles just below the helmet, gives the overall impression of a squid for a head. It's currently speaking, presumably into a recording device of some kind. It doesn't use any language that you've ever heard before, but somehow the meaning of its words are perfectly clear to you. It says, "Preparing experimentation upon specimen 213 now. Previous specimens have shown unexpected rejection of grafts, resulting in expiration. Specimen 213 has been implanted with a translator module to provide for more detailed feedback on implantation process, and has been cleansed of anesthesia to remove all potentially deleterious variables." As this creature speaks, it produces and examines a frightening-looking device. It looks like a metal staff, but it's topped with an array of different cutting implements. Some of them there's like short and long ones, smooth and serrated, straight and curved. All of them are deeply disturbing to consider. The creature then turns and begins to walk toward you, considering the business end of this staff as if pondering which blade to start with. What do you do?
Do I have my wand with me?
You feel around with both of your hands, which are strapped to your sides, and to your relief, you can feel the shape of your wand in your pocket. It appears as though whatever these things are that have captured you, they didn't see this little stick in your pocket as a threat. If you would like a picture of what this thing looks like, by the way, do an image search for Vedalken Anatomist. Vedalken, and then Anatomist.
Oh, that's a nice device he's holding.
Yep.
Oh.
I just want to ask him why he chose me.
He seems to look up at you, and the sound of your voice stops him momentarily in his approach. He seems to take a moment to consider your words, and then simply responds curtly. The subject is instructed to withhold any and all questioning or commentary, except as specifically regards the implantation of the graphs, and then continues to approach you.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and cast Confundo and see what happens.
Okay. The way you cast your spells, the way any character casts spells in this, is you're going to be making a psyche check. So, you're going to pick up that D100 and roll it.
So 64.
So 64, and then take a look on the universal table, find the column that corresponds with your psyche rank, and then find out what a 64 is on that. So cross-reference the column in the row, basically.
Ah. Okay. Science. That's
Yep.
not even science. Okay.
It's science adjacent.
It's graphs, I guess.
It's green.
Okay.
Woo!
Your wrist movement is relatively limited, but it's enough for you to be able to draw your wand from your pocket, point the business end at him, and say Confundo. There's a flash of white light from the end of your wand, and the creature staggers backwards. Its previous upright posture and confident walk is now replaced with an unsteady wavering on its feet, as though it took a sharp blow to the head, and it's clearly confused as to where it is and what it should be doing. What do you do now?
What else is in the room with me?
There's a bunch of tables all around that are covered in nasty-looking medical instruments. You can see that there's a door on the far end of the room. There's also a number of large tubes that look like they're big enough for you to fit in, although all of them are currently empty and they're all sort of standing around the edge of the room. And if you wish to look further, you can roll me your intuition.
I'm good for that. I better get out first. I better do an Alohomora and get out of these chains. This is bothersome.
Cool. Give me another psyche check.
Oh, not good enough. 38.
Okay.
That is definitely not good enough.
So I will say that you managed to unlock one of the straps. I'm going to say around your left wrist. Your left hand is now free. However, the creature that you stunned, or that you confused, sees your movement and the flash of light coming from your wand. He's still confused, but has now decided that apparently this is something that requires his attention. And he begins to stagger towards you, lifting up the business end of that multi-scalpel staff that he has. So he's going to be pointing this thing at you as he runs in your direction. What do you do?
For the audience at home that doesn't have a computer to look this up, he is definitely holding some sort of Swiss Army scalpel staff.
Yep, basically.
For long
it's pretty
distance
impressive.
dismembering.
Yep.
I can't decide whether I want to attack him or get it in my possession. I'm not sure which would be more helpful, although I do not know how to use it. Although I'm sure it will come to me. Anyway, I'll Accio it and see what it does.
Great. Roll your psyche.
Please, dice. I really need this thing. 86.
Yeah.
Which puts me yellow.
Very good. And just to remind you, you do have a karma supply. If there is a roll that you
right.
particularly wish to succeed, then before you make the roll, you can declare that you wish to spend karma. When you do that, you are essentially promising that you will spend at least 10 karma on the roll. So even if you end up rolling really well and not needing to spend any karma, you still have to spend 10. However, after you roll, you can then decide how much karma you want to spend. So, like, if you wanted to get a green result, for example, but you rolled really poorly and you were 25 below what your green target number would be, you can spend 25 karma to get it up to a green. But in this case, you happen to cast the spell without a hitch. The nasty-looking staff is pulled out of this thing's hand. It spins about 180 degrees as it flies through the air, and you grab it with your free left hand. The creature is now unarmed and still confused, and it's going to attempt to attack you with its bare hands. So I'm going to make an attack roll for it. It manages to land an open-handed blow on you, and you take 6 damage. Well, this thing is basically up on you right now. It's already struck you once with its bare hands. It's still really confused, because obviously, the logical thing to do would be to try to use one of these instruments to subdue you, or go run for help or something. But it's still under the effects of the confusion curse, but it's right up on you right now. So you have your wand in one hand, and this crazy multi-scalpel staff in the other. What would you like to do?
If I do stupefy, I have to do endurance instead of psyche, don't I?
No, the target makes an endurance check.
Oh.
Yeah, so you still have to make the psyche
Okay.
check, but then the target gets to make an endurance check.
Okay, then I don't want that. Then I'm gonna just do Incarcerus and hope for the best.
Great. Go
Even
for
if
it.
he's on top of me, it'll be an improvement. 78, which I believe is yellow.
That sounds like yellow to me. These ropes burst out of the end of your wand, hit him with a surprising amount of force as they wrap around him. So what ends up happening is he's sort of picked up off of his feet and then lands on his back on the ground several feet away, completely tied up by these ropes. He is effectively of no threat to you right now. What do you do now, Luna?
Do you think I can use the thing that I have in my hand as a way to, I don't know, it's probably got some blades on it. Can I cut through the straps?
Oh, you absolutely can. You don't even have to roll for that. You're not under any pressure. And also, it's not interesting if you fail. So, under those circumstances, I typically won't have you roll. You're able to use the multi-scalpel staff, and you now stand free from the table you were strapped to. As you are standing in this room, trying to get your bearings, you can hear the sound of, a commotion coming from the hall. You're hearing weird animalistic sounds, banging sounds, the sounds of combat, basically. After a few seconds of this, the door to the room flies off its hinges and hits the ground as these two figures come flying through it. One of them lands on top of the other. The one on the ground is very similar to the four-armed, squid-looking creature that you just incapacitated. The creature that lands on top of it, and was obviously attacking it, is a rather large, four-legged creature, which you pretty much identify as a dragon. However, it is not a breed of dragon which you ever learned about, either in your time at Hogwarts or your time abroad. It's sleek, has black scales, and large green eyes, as it smacks this creature with a paw and leaves it unconscious.
Luna's gonna check to see if she has her notebook with her.
You do have your notebook with you.
Toothless sees
Yes!
movement and turns its eyes up at her, pupils thin and cat-like, trying to assess if Luna is another bad thing.
Toothless, this is clearly not a Phyrexia.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you, Dan.
Yes.
Phyrexians must have some common smell. Even if they all smell a little bit different from each other, they all come from the same source.
Yes, they smell like gasoline.
Okay. Toothless is gonna cautiously pad over to her, looking like a black jungle cat in its movement, and head low and suspicious, and starts
Luna's gonna, I think, get lower down on the ground, crouch slowly, so that way I appear less on threat.
Toothless's head goes up, kind of in confusion. Pupils are now getting much more round, and eventually he puts his head in close and just kind of lets his face sit there right in front of hers.
Hi.
And lick in the face.
Luna's probably going to try and keep a little bit of it just to see if there's, I think she's going to do a quick check to see if it's got any dissolving properties on her face.
It is
But it seems
extremely
okay.
sticky, just
Yeah,
so you know.
super sticky.
It's
Oh,
very,
wow.
very adhesive.
If Toothless is going to let me, I am going to write down that it's pretty viscous.
All right.
He's just watching you, kind of like, just waiting to see what you do.
So, Toothless, you have a mission that you came here with. I discussed this with you earlier.
Yes.
But to summarize, your mission was to essentially look to see if the Phyrexians had any captives, and if so, to take them back to your cell and the extraction points so that you all can get out of the plane.
Okay.
Toothless seems pretty intuitive to Luna, which is nice because a lot of the dragons she's encountered have been less forthcoming. So, just gonna ask, are you hurt?
Toothless just tilts his head at her, just sort of in confusion, don't really know. I know you're saying stuff, but I don't know what. He's now like craning his neck so he can like peep into her notebook, see what she's writing.
Oh, I've done like a kind of a very rough sketch. It's not good. It's about 3 steps up from a stick figure, but it's enough that I can maybe try and recreate it later if I have to. Whenever I have time to hire somebody who can do art.
Toothless is going to grab that Swiss Army staff, grab it with his mouth, and then kind of stand up on his hind legs and drag the staff through the ground and try to like draw stuff.
It's making a horrific metal screeching sound as sparks are flying everywhere.
Oh no! Because that's a risk of attracting more attention, I assume.
Speaking of, now that
No, I don't like this.
now that Toothless is making a lot of noise, you both suddenly hear what sounds like skittering noises, like a multi-legged creature, except that it's clearly being made by metal. You see, coming out from the hallway outside are 4 creatures. Most of these creatures are mechanical. They're basically like hulking meadow exoskeletons with 3 crab-like legs and an assortment of different arms protruding at irregular intervals all around its body. The body rises straight up from the point where its 3 legs meet, so it kind of has like a little bit of a weird centaur posture if the lower part of a centaur was a crab. But perhaps most disturbing are the parts of this creature that are not robotic looking. There's bits of bone and flesh and exposed muscle showing through in the central body of the creature, and a horrifically mutated head, which is barely recognizable as being human beneath the extensive metal grafts that have been installed into it. For a visual reference, do an image search for Phyrexian Rager.
I'm okay. I won't. But thank you.
Okay, good. It's pretty horrific looking, though. So there are 4 of those things, and they seem none too happy to see either of you walking around right now, so they are going to attack. And that means we are going to roll initiative. So, for Meganbob and for the listener at home, initiative is determined by the roll of a single d10, so you're not this is the only time in the game where you don't roll the d100. And then you're going to add that initiative bonus that's written on your character sheet.
So +3, so 7.
7. Okay, and Toothless?
11.
11. Okay, and I'm going to roll initiative for the bad guys. Toothless, you are up first. What do you do?
He's gonna move in front of Luna, very defensively. And how far away are these guys from us?
They're probably about 20 feet away.
Oh, okay, they're pretty close. And how big is this room?
It's a medium-sized room, like probably the size of 2 operating rooms kind of put together. So like a large classroom, I guess, if you want to think of it like that.
Okay. I've sort of infiltrated, right? Do I know if there's floors going up?
Yes, this is a multi-story building and you are part of the way up. So there are floors above and below you.
And do I know how deep in the building? Do you know what I mean? Like, how close am I to the outside?
You're very close.
Like, is there a window looking out? Like, how close am I to outside? No. Okay.
So basically the hallway just outside this room is the hallway you came into when you entered. So in the hallway is the hole you blasted in the side of the building. So if you could get out into the hallway, there's a chance you could get to an escape route.
I feel like it's too close to send off a little blasty blast. So Toothless is just gonna pounce on the first one. Can I do a charge? Am I too close?
No, you can do a charge from here.
All right. He's gonna run at him.
Cool. Yeah, go ahead and roll your endurance.
There's a green.
So you slam bodily into this first nearest enemy. It takes several scuttling steps backward underneath your body mass, and it's clearly taken a good amount of damage from your attack. but it is still up. Luna, it is your turn. So because battle began and you weren't surprised, I'm assuming that you have cast Expecto Patronum and you now have your force field up. So you don't have to worry about doing that. You can go ahead and act.
Toothless is already in the middle of it. He's near them and in amongst them, yes?
Yeah, kind of. They're kind of grouped together, and he's standing, like, basically directly in front of them.
I was thinking of doing Expulso because I can get like a pretty big explosion that might take out 2 or 3 of them, but I don't, if he's that close, I don't want to scare him.
What I would say is, if that's what you want to do, I would have you make a reason check to see if you can identify an object of a good size and distance away that you could hit the enemies without hitting Toothless.
I'd rather do that than wait and see if they do more damage to Toothless.
So reason is the R in Face Rip, so it's one of your 7 core abilities.
Okay, well, it's only 20. We'll find out. 89.
That'll probably be a
Okay.
yellow pretty much regardless.
Yeah, that's a yellow. Pretty yellow. It's quite yellow.
So you've identified there's a table nearby that's covered in medical implements, and it's just the right size and just the right distance that you feel confident that you could blow it up, hit all 4 of these enemies, and leave Toothless unscathed. If you wish to do that, you may make a psyche check.
Oh, that didn't go as well as I'd hoped. 39. Oh, just barely a green.
Very good. You're trying to point your wand between this crush of enemies because, you need to get a clear shot at this table, and they're kind of zigging and zagging around trying to get a clear shot at Toothless, and you wait for just the right moment and fire off a bolt that hits the table, and the table just detonates and hits all of the enemies for 20 damage each, and that takes out the one that Toothless had damaged earlier. It drops smoking and motionless to the ground.
I give Toothless a little thumbs up.
Nice.
He looks at you with cute big eyes and just kind of nods with a smile.
The Phyrexians now are going to turn their attention towards Toothless. So Toothless, you have 3 of them that are sort of swarming on you and just going up and down with their weird robotic limbs trying to tear you apart. 2 of them you're able to avoid, and their fists hit and dent the metal ground in another shriek of metal and shower of sparks. One of them, though, gets an especially lucky shot right on the side of your head. So you take 20 damage, and you're going to need to make an endurance check.
And endurance. Oh boy, I'm gonna use the karma. I don't want to get knocked out this early. Alright, I'll just go ahead and take it to yellow to play it safe.
Okay, so you are not slammed,
Okay.
but yeah, you do take that 20 damage. It is now Toothless's turn.
I got punched in the head.
Yeah.
That's not cool. I'm gonna bite his fucking hand.
Okay, go for
And
it.
just turn and chomp!
Make a fighting roll.
Chomp! Yellow.
Nice. You bite down on this thing's robotic wrist and then just like twist your neck and tear out its robotic arm along with like several important looking internal components, and the thing collapses as its robotic systems fail.
I'm gonna hold on to it. This is staying in my mouth.
Great. You're turning into a real Magnus Burnsides with your robot arm collecting. So Luna, there are now 2 enemies left. Both have been damaged.
I'm gonna go with the Tarantallegra and see if I can get them to dance the fuck out of the way of the door.
They do have extra legs to make with the dancing, so this seems like a good decision.
I really want this to work, so I'm gonna say karma.
There you go. You're gonna spend
Say
karma
the
on
magic
something.
words. Oh, well, I didn't need it, so I now have 104.
Nice.
Which is not possible, but yes.
Oh, it's possible. It just got possible. Yeah, this guy fails his psyche check terribly, and the menacing crab-like Phyrexian creature suddenly begins to do a merry jig, its 3 crab-like legs clattering excitedly on the metal floor as its hands move in like these wide circles above its head. So one of these Phyrexians is currently utterly useless, doing a merry jig. The other one, though, is going to keep trying to tear Toothless apart. He's landing a hit, but Toothless, you can try to dodge or block if you wish.
Oh, dodge.
For the listener at home, there are a couple of reactions that you can use. You can attempt to dodge, which will lower your opponent's chance to hit and may negate the hit altogether, or you can try to block, which will allow you to use your strength to reduce the amount of damage you take. Dodging is more useful for agile characters, blocking is more useful for strong characters.
Green.
Okay, green was not good enough to dodge this one. So it hits you again for another 20 damage. Also for the listener at home, certain characters will have reactions that are unique to them that only they can do. One such character is Luna, who has the reactionary spell called Protego, which allows her to reflect spells back on their caster if they are cast at her. So, food for thought for the potential future should you ever run into an enemy spellcaster, Luna Lovegood.
Oh, that's nice.
Toothless, we are back at you.
All right. You said there was 3 left.
There are 2 left.
2 left.
One is dancing.
One is dancing.
Yes.
Is the other one the injured one, or is he fresh?
Both are injured.
Okay, Toothless is gonna look at the dancing one with a raised eyebrow ridge, and then he's gonna narrow his eyes like oh, I got this. And he's gonna pounce over, lining his body up just right with the dancing one and the non-dancing one, and then with his back legs bucket the dancing one so that it gets sent into the other two.
I like it.
Actually, what should I do the other one? Should I not?
Kick the dancing one into the non-dancing one?
No, do the non-dancing one into the dancing one.
Either way, it's going to be a fighting check at -2.
All right. No, I feel like I should kick the dancing one because he can't stop me.
Okay.
That is great.
Yeah, so basically you kick the dancing one directly into the other, and they sort of hit with a loud, painful sounding impact, and they both go staggering. They're both looking very injured and very weak at this point, and it is now Luna's turn.
Are they enough out of the way that we can get to the door?
Yeah, that is certainly an option at this point.
I think I'm gonna see if I can get Toothless to help find a way out. Can I initiate? No, not that. Let's intuition my way to the door, and maybe hopefully he'll follow me.
You don't need to intuition to find an exit. There is, however, something else in this room, and I'm curious to see if you find it.
Yeah, it's a green.
As you are searching for an exit, you know, the exit is fairly obvious, but you happen to see that propped up next to it is your broom.
Yay!
At this point, if you wish, you can attempt to slip past the 2 enemies by making an agility check.
Okay, so my agility is... Ooh, my agility is only good. Well, here's hoping. Fuck, I was hoping it was a 47, but it's a 41, so it's barely white. Damn yous!
So Luna, you dash forward across the room towards the door. You reach out with your hand and grab your broom, and just as you're turning to head through the door, the one creature that isn't dancing reaches out and is going to try to grab you. It grabs you by your wrist. It's not doing any damage yet because it didn't roll well enough. But yeah, it basically has you, and you can't leave as long as it's grabbing onto you. And that brings us to Toothless's turn.
Oh yeah, Toothless is gonna pounce on him and then like try to beat him with that other one's arm that he still has.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and give me a fighting check.
No go. This thing bucks him off.
Yeah, so you try to jump on this thing, but you forget that this thing has like radial arms all around its central body, and it sort of just lashes out at one and knocks you aside before you can land on it. Luna, it is your turn. This thing is grabbing you and pulling you in close.
If I can get it to let go of me, can I get away?
Yes.
Will Toothless also be able to get away, or is Toothless in trouble?
That's kind of on Toothless. He would still have to evade this Phyrexian, assuming it was still conscious when you were done with it.
I'm pretty good at evasion. Okay. I'd say don't worry about the dragon.
Well, I'm gonna try for a cheering charm, just enough to let me go.
Okay. Very good. Let's see how you do.
Oh, I don't have very much karma. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what very much karma means. But I'm also very weak.
All important considerations.
Yeah, because I assume that close is dangerous for this, isn't it?
For you in particular.
It's not gonna get better, is it?
Not really.
It's not gonna turn into a hug? Okay. Alright, karma it is. Oh, again, did not need it. 93, so 103.
Okay. And once again, these things cannot make a psyche check to save their lives. As you wave your wand at this creature, something occurs on the features of the Phyrexian, which basically never occur on the features of a Phyrexian, as its eyes widen and then crinkle up as little crow's feet appear in the corners of its eyes, and it just can't hold on to you anymore because it's just so filled with joy! And it begins literally jumping in the air, just overcome with utter euphoria. And then it actually starts dancing with the other one.
Oh, that's really great. Fantastic. Well, you know, we'd like to leave everything a little bit happier than we found it.
Bob, this is exactly what I was hoping for when you joined this RPG. I was like, yeah, brings joy everywhere she goes.
I can't wait to see how you interact with these other horrible people in our group.
So the hallway outside of the operating room is made of dark-colored metal, and it stretches in either direction. Its most notable feature is the large, irregular, still-smoking hole in the far wall, courtesy of Toothless a moment ago when you blasted in. Beyond the smoking hole is a blasted landscape beneath a sky the color of a dark bruise. The distant sounds of combat drift up through the greasy air. Toothless, you know that this is the sound of your companions in the Extraordinary League doing battle with Phyrexians down on the ground.
Okay.
What do you all do?
So how high up are we?
You're about 40 stories up.
I like to imagine that Luna and Toothless are looking out of the hole down at all of this.
Oh, yes. Can we see a lot?
You can basically see that there's this blasted landscape stretching up all around you like broken ribs are the skeletal remains of buildings. And up ahead you can see that on the ground there's a small group of figures basically trying to fend off a giant encroaching horde of skeletal, robotic, insectile creatures.
Like sort of imagine the camera is looking at Luna and Toothless from the outside, you know? They
Sure,
just kind
through
of
the hole.
Sees them in the frame of the hole, yes.
Yes.
Toothless is looking out at the battle. He looks at Luna, looks out at the battle, looks at Luna, and kind of stands up, kind of rears up on his back legs, and picks up Luna by the scruff of her sweater, and jumps out the hole.
Okay.
Boom! Spreads its big old wings and takes off.
So, Luna, you are treated to a ride which is much better with 3D glasses, I am here to tell you.
Luna is definitely going to... I think she's going to resist from saying we, because she's, she's 23 now. But she's definitely going to be, have that maniacal grin of going, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Oh, and it is. You have your broom in your hand, and yet, this is way better than that.
This is so much better. Better than that Thestral.
Toothless is going to try to find a spot on the battlefield that is kind of safe to land.
Yeah. As you go swooping in, you see the other members of your league cell have basically been backed up against this fallen statue. It's basically a big plinth, and then there's like a big metal statue of a dude on an upright horse. So, Luna, you can see that this new dragon friend of yours is taking you towards a small group of people who are up against this fallen statue. And they are all working to keep this ever-encroaching tide of enemy creatures from completely overwhelming them. One of the figures is a painfully thin-looking man wearing black robes. He has a long wooden staff topped with a spherical crystal, which is gripped by a dragon's claw looking thing. As you watch, he gestures powerfully, and a blinding bolt of lightning leaps from his fingertips and rips through several enemies. The second figure stands near him. She's kind of short. She's wearing an orange and gray tunic. She has several pouches and satchels. She's wearing a large pair of glasses, and an antenna protrudes from a strange-looking leather and metal cap that almost covers her short purple hair. As you watch, she digs into one of her pouches, produces a small sphere, and hurls it into a mass of enemies where it detonates spectacularly. The third figure towers over the other ones and is either a robot or is encased entirely in strangely proportioned red, yellow, and orange armor, complete with a glowing green visor and a blue-green arm cannon. It's currently spraying the oncoming tide of enemies with a hail of yellow energy bolts. The final figure is dressed in a yellow form-fitting bodysuit and is wielding a katana with deadly skill, slicing down foe after foe as she dances through them, blonde hair flowing behind her. Toothless, you're angling down, and you find a good spot to land nearby your friends. And Luca, the purple-haired woman wearing glasses, looks up at you and says excitedly, "Toothless! I'm glad to see you. The Phyrexians caught us on our way back and dropped that statue down right on top of our extraction point." And she points at the big statue of a man on top of a horse behind her. "We gotta get that thing out of the way before we can leave." And then she looks over at Luna and says, "Oh, hello.
Hi.
I'm glad to see that we were able to find some prisoners to rescue. I would love to do some more formal introductions, but..." And you see the large robot/armored figure says, "Kind of on a time limit here." And Luca says, yes, my thoughts exactly." And she starts digging around in her pouch for another weapon.
That's okay, you're busy.
So yeah, it sounds as though they're trying to get to this extraction point, but the statue has fallen directly on top of it.
Then in that case, I guess the only choice I have is to bring it to life.
Oh, yes.
And it's a man on a horse, you said?
It is. It's like he's dressed like an army general, has like a saber upraised.
You're gonna knight at the museum this? That's great.
Oh no! I should have gone for karma. I got a white. Oh no.
Okay. You point your wand, but the sounds of battle nearby and the sort of pressure you can feel as this army grows ever closer is distracting you, and you fumble the spell, and the end of your wand flickers, but fails to go off. The man in the black robes with the staff turns and looks at you, and you can see actually that his irises are gold, and his pupils are in the shape of an hourglass. And he hisses at you, "We've no time for your hedge magic. If you're going to cast a spell, cast it. Otherwise, you should do something a little more useful." And with that, he turns back and spreads his fingers towards the encroaching enemies and lets loose an intense blast of ice and snow at them from his hand.
Where's this motherfucker from?
That is Raistlin
from
Dragonlance.
That's Raistlin!
Yes.
I haven't read those books, but he seems like a dick.
Yeah, he's a jerk. So it is your turn again, Luna. What would you like to do? You can try that same spell again, but if you want to try something else, that is also an option.
No, I don't think I have anything else that's going to work as well as this is. Oh, I'm using my karmas. Because I fear for the lives of everybody. Fine. Okay. So I got a 39, so it's just a green.
So yeah, this time you point your wand and state clearly and with intent, "Pure totem locomotor." And the statue, horse and all, suddenly stirs and climbs to its feet. The horse rears backwards. It doesn't have any lungs or vocal cords, so it doesn't make any noise. But the sight is impressive all the same, and then it charges forward. The man on the back begins whipping his saber back and forth and carving up enemies.
Luna's gonna whisper to herself and make the neigh sound.
The woman in yellow with the katana takes a step back from the melee as the Phyrexians are suddenly much more interested in this gigantic machine of destruction which is rampaging through their ranks. Her eyebrows raised, she nods appreciatively at the carnage unfolding. Meanwhile, Luca digs into one of her satchels and produces a device which, to Luna, looks kind of like a really large and old Muggle cell phone, and runs to the spot where the statue was a second ago. And Luna, you see that the other people here, the man in the black robes, the large armored figure / robot, and the woman in yellow with the katana are all running to gather close around Luca.
They seem like a fun group. I should follow them.
Okay.
Once Toothless is just kind of watching Luna until she starts moving, and then he follows her.
All right. So
very dog-like.
As Toothless, you draw in close. Beatrix reaches down and sort of like scratches you right at that spot on your nose that you like. As Luca hits some of the buttons on the front of the DDC, it pops open, and there's this expanding sphere of white crackling electricity that envelops all of you. Your skin tingles, and there's the sensation of falling in every direction at once. And then very suddenly, you are no longer in Phyrexia, you are in Castle Grayskull. Extraordinary League is produced by Dan Mulkerin, with logo designed by Colin Mulkerin.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Motherload, and to TabletopAudio.com for our background music and ambient sound effects.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast, and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
No, but I don't want to use all my karma so quickly. I have, no karma. It's unfair that the smart characters get all the karma.
Well, it's also unfair that the physical characters get all the health.
No, that makes sense, doesn't it? What is karma? Like spirit? The will to go on?
Good-heartedness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moxie.
There you go.
It is. Karma feels like moxie.
It totally is.
And other 1920s concepts.
Mm-hmm. Vigor and vim.